welcome, and thank you to everyone for joining us this afternoon for our second Cert Matters Live online 2021 session. My name is Andrew Griggs. I am the COO at Prodigy Learning and your host for this afternoon. Cert Matters has quickly grown to become a personal highlight of the year, and it is a fantastic chance for us all at Prodigy Learning to meet, collaborate and celebrate with our customers, partners and students. We have a fantastic session lined up for you this afternoon, and I can't wait to get started. Before I hand over to our special guests, some housekeeping and announcements. Cert Matters Live 2021 is running all the way through to the end of June, and we have some amazing sessions lined up for you this year. If you missed our first session last week, featuring TAFE SA, Deakin University and Goanna Education, who are all based in Australia, then do not worry. You can watch this session back on demand by visiting the Cert Matters homepage, www.certmatters.com. Cert Matters is truly an international event, and this webinar will offer insight into how these three organisations are succeeding in closing the digital skills gap in Australia. If you haven't yet signed up for our remaining sessions, then make sure your first objective after today's webinar is to go to www.certmatters.com and register. We have two fantastic sessions lined up for you next week. On the 16th of June, we have students and staff from Birmingham City University and international legal organisation Freshfields Brookhouse Duringer charting the journey from certification through to career. On the 17th of June, we have our partner LearnKey and customers from the UK and Ireland talking to us about the challenges the pandemic has presented to them and how they have overcome those with changes to their offerings that now last beyond the pandemic. I am really looking forward to our last session on the 23rd of June, which will discuss reimagining the future of assessment. We are joined for this by Jude Cosgrove, CEO of the Educational Research Centre within the Department of Education in Ireland, and Graham Hudson, Special Advisor to Assessment Professionals and Board Member of the E-Assessment Association. I'm particularly looking forward to this session as last night, the now award-winning Prodigy Learning were awarded the Best Formative Assessment Product at the International E-Assessment Association Gala Awards ceremony. Prodigy Learning secured this award with its revolutionary Coding in Minecraft computer science credential product. This innovative SaaS product leverages the power of Minecraft and Prodigy Learning's Skillify online assessment platform to engage young and diverse learners ages 7 to 16 to develop and prove their coding skills. This is a huge win for Team Prodigy, and recognition goes to all those across the business who have helped to build that product from a concept. Sign up to this session now to find out more about coding in Minecraft. I'm delighted and honoured this afternoon to welcome our presenters, Anthony Salcito, Vice President of Worldwide Education at Microsoft, and Alex Warner, Principal of the South Central Institute of Technology, for today's Cert Matters keynote. I've been looking forward to this one for a while, but before I hand over to Anthony, I have one last housekeeping point. If you are on Twitter or LinkedIn, then do join in the conversation by tweeting any of us here today. Don't forget to use the hashtag CMLive21 when messaging. There will be time for Q&A after both our sessions today, so please do send in your questions via social media or via the Q&A feature within Teams Live. Without further ado, I would like to invite Anthony Salcito to take our virtual stage. Thank you, Anthony. The floor is yours. Thank you, Anthony. The floor is now yours, Anthony.
Sorry, it's great to be with all of you. And I'm looking forward to having a dialogue for what I think is going to be an important time to reflect on the state of change that's taking place across education. I want to start by really just offering a word of thanks. I have an opportunity in my role to work with and support leaders, educators, students who have been jumping into this journey on remote learning with both, concern and trepidation, but also with enthusiasm and optimism on what's possible. There has been some amazing things happening. I'll reflect on some of them, but I really want to focus on the journey. As we think about what's happening in the state of education, the transformation that's taking place across K through 12, higher ed and beyond, we certainly see a tremendously interesting and certainly challenging road ahead, but an exciting one. as we think about more purposeful connection between the skills that students need to build and the opportunities to reflect more closely to the workplace that's changing. Certainly in the early stages of the pandemic, the focus was appropriately so to respond to the dynamics of remote learning and how do we support and keep our staff and students safe. And really doing that with very little planning. Many faculty have been teaching online courses, never even attended one, and have had to adapt and be much more thoughtful about their teaching style, the way in which they connect with students. We've heard examples of many faculty and professors who have said they've been more human, more connected to their students than they ever have been in their career. We've seen students thrive in this new world. We've also seen the opposite, where students have felt fatigued by online experiences. They felt disconnected from each other, the peers, and missed the value of core campus engagement. One of the differentiators in this respond phase has been the institutions that have tried to transition from curriculum and assessment and the engagement of students much more linearly, meaning they delivered courses in the past at the same schedule, the same time, they transitioned to that same model. Those models have been faring worse than institutions that have rethought this new landscape of digital resources and connection, mixed up the modalities of learning and engagement between synchronous and asynchronous, shifted the dynamics of schedule, created more unique engagement opportunities for collaboration, have tended to fare better. We're going to have to leverage these learnings in the recover phase, which is happening now, where you see schools and institutions really thinking thoughtfully about how they can build on the learnings that's happened over the last 2 years and really get back to school. One of the things that's happened is, I'm in the US currently, students have returned to universities and schools in the US. One of the things that's been happening is students are going through a day of school and questioning why they couldn't do everything that they did that day at home. And I think it's creating real pressure on how we think of the engagement of a classroom as well as online tools. We tend to think about how do we optimize this online canvas because it's newer. And I think there's a lot of work that we need to be doing to be more thoughtful about how we use digital tools and extend the boundaries of a school or campus. But we're also going to need to be more thoughtful about how we leverage our time face to face. We're going to need to see it and recognize, I think, that this is a precious opportunity, and we've got to create new energy, new capabilities that weren't there or thought of before. But certainly we recognize, and I think many of you do, and looking at the agenda that Andrew just highlighted, which is certainly exciting, I think the focus all of us are engaged with is how do we reimagine what's going to happen. There will be pressure on institutions to transform. We see it from constituents, we see it from industry, and we see opportunities to really leverage the tools to think differently about everything from curriculum and content to assessment to really unbundling the traditional learning pathways that students have been on. There's exciting times ahead, but we've got to really think through the differences. Certainly, as we think about the value and importance of our time together on campus, there's tremendous opportunity to bring change. Many of these changes were really on board before the pandemic. The need to increasingly create smart campuses that have been optimized for digital engagement, creating more empowerment for individual students, more support for learning beyond the campus, for remote learning or hybrid learning, having students select resources from other campuses that they're not connected to with proximity. These are all been part of the value, but certainly bringing more engagement and personalization to what's happening every single day has been key. And we're going to leverage the power of AI to do this. Now, remote learning is something that we have been immersed in, certainly going forward. It will be continued part of the landscape for higher education, not something that we can move behind. And I think as we move to a blended and hybrid model with remote learning as an option for some students and institutions, we're going to need to be much more mindful about how we optimize the experiences. How do we create engagement and immersion designed to blend these experiences directly? And then balancing the dynamic with a recognition of the importance of unlocking skills with human connection and personal touch. I think as we think about this next reimagine phase, the first building block is to recognize that this is not an or tension. I think in the start of the pandemic, and certainly as we think about funding models and optimization of institutions, there has been tension between this digital experience and the validity of it versus our campus experience and the historic value that institutions have defined. But I think that what we're going to need to do, and all institutions will need to do this, is embrace a world where we recognize that remote connection and capabilities is a core fundamental to the value proposition and the way in which we deliver impact to students. But we recognize the importance of staying connected and valuing our natural and human resources and connections more deeply. And I think if you get that mindset across the institution direction and trajectory going forward, we're in much better shape as we move along. We also have to recognize that we are in a historic time for education where the convergence of the skills that students are demonstrating every single day, how they connect, how they collaborate, how they share and use information, how they embrace digital tools seamlessly to connect to get things done, very much mirrors the world of work. And the workplace dynamics are changing to create more alignment to the ways in which we think about the way in which work is being done across industry. From teacher-led environments to project-based learning very much reflects the world of work. Bringing individualized and personalized learning to the forefront of education is becoming a norm. Thinking differently about how we naturally build relationships. This has been a necessary element in collaboration in remote engagement for students. This is foundational to the way in which businesses operate and require employees to be natural collaborators across institutions. And certainly as we think about the dynamics of the new world of work, it very much reflects the dynamics that students are engaged in currently. This is a huge opportunity for institutions to bring more relevance to the experiences that they're delivering, to the workforce employability focus that they need in the new world. We're also living in a tremendously interesting time for technology paradigms. In many ways, we have some building blocks that are fundamentally going to shift the landscape even further than we have. Certainly the cloud was a building block that really became essential in the time of pandemic, and certainly will become a foundational tool to drive the power of AI, the emergence of mixed reality, and certainly the growth of things like IoT, blockchain, and quantum computing. But in many ways, we're living through tremendous opportunity to change the landscape of technology and the world going forward. This is why we need to start this effort with mindset shift to get students very early on and throughout their education to bring their thoughts and talents to solving some big challenges that we're facing on the planet, that these technologies are now more equipped to address. And once we bring a mindset where students are thinking about their education as a tool for their skills to be unleashed on big things that they're passionate about, we can certainly bring not only change to the economy, but really bring new solutions and innovations forward in every society. Certainly when we think about the dynamics, everyone understands that we're facing certainly gaps with regards to technology job availability and lack of students to support. This is not a talent gap, it's really more an opportunity gap, and we've got to make sure that students are really seeing their education experiences as an opportunity to build skills aligned to the workplace needs. But the reality of COVID and the shift to globalization and certainly on remote and on-demand work that's taken place in the pandemic is going to fundamentally continue to change the world of work and certainly require more and more technology capabilities and entrepreneurship to fuel the future as we go forward. So creating alignment between the skills that the workplace needs and students can acquire in institutions is now more fundamentally important than ever before. We're seeing this as part of the work that Microsoft does and surely our core mission to empower every student on the planet to achieve more. This is increasingly what institutions are aligned to. And as we think about this, we're building on really three fundamental building blocks. We want to make sure that we're sparking curiosity and focus on leveraging technology to make things happen. Really thinking differently about computer science and STEM by bringing purpose to the world in every subject and every discipline. We want to make sure that students are building skills to be more productive and collaborative in their engagements and working through teams, and then making sure that we're being purposeful and aligned on how students are building skills to align to employability, as well as working with industry partners to bring insight and resources from industry into curriculum and experiences that students are having on campus. And certainly this is built around the foundational tools that Microsoft provides to institutions. Tools like Microsoft Learn, which provides the foundation for getting access to curriculum and courses to get students certified and prepared for the new world of work, as well as tools like GitHub and LinkedIn, which provides a very meaningful pathway to students to get prepared for their careers, and I'll share more about that. As we think about building on the technology concepts and improving the foundation for employability, these are the assets that Microsoft is providing every single day to universities and schools. I want to highlight a couple of things that are critical to the work that you're doing, and certainly the work that we're here to learn more about. And that's the importance of certification. Increasingly, we recognize from employers that certification is a differentiator for students, and it helps students stand out from the crowd. Increasingly, students that are actually building their core campus experience and degree-seeking work to incorporate certification become more purposeful about how they're going to use what they're learning in school to apply in industry and careers going forward. So not only does certification help with employers, it improves the value and connection and impact students are getting from their traditional learning and on-campus experiences and curriculum. We also recognize that we need to help students get a pathway here. Microsoft has built and invested in a robust platform for free online courses via Microsoft Learn. Learn is available for students and faculty to get ready on hundreds of courses available across the modern technologies and emerging technologies aligned to work. It includes job pathways and learning pathways for students to ladder their skills and build based on career ideation and exploration, as well as for students and faculty, pathways to get certified across all of this so they get industry valued certifications and credentials that they can carry forward once they leave institution to build their portfolio and show their certifications in tools like LinkedIn as they use for job seeking and navigation in careers going forward. We also really have been investing in the work that we do for educators, because we know to enable these tools inside institutions, we've got to help faculty get skilled on teaching and supporting these courses. And not only do we have resources for faculty, but tools to help faculty bring these things in naturally to curriculum. Many faculty will not be teaching the courses directly as is, so we've made it easy for faculty to pull modules out and build courses taking components out of Microsoft Learn dynamically. And there's tools that we can integrate for course creation right inside Microsoft Learn for faculty. The last thing I wanted to highlight as part of Microsoft Learn is a real new experience that we have to really unlock student agency. As I talked about before, the whole thing starts with mindset. We're living in a tremendously exciting time of technology impact, but really student mindset about how they can take their skills and apply it to the new world of work and really bring their agency forward to drive change is the most critical thing that we've got to solve globally. One of the things that's been often a blocker for this is the fast change of the workplace and the new requirements of skills. We hear the cliche that the jobs of the future haven't been invented yet, and the skills that students need in the next 10 years will change based on the new world of work. This creates often a stagnation because students and faculty don't know where to prepare or really the opportunities that are available. One of the things that Microsoft has just released as part of the work that we do every single day is tools that help students really enact their agency. Imagine Cup, we just had an opportunity to launch, and this is an opportunity, this is an almost 20 years in the making technology competition. I think we celebrated our 19th year this past year, and students get a chance to think about how they can take their skills, apply them to real world experiences and work, and work collaboratively across teams. Here's an example of the kinds of things that students do every single day. We just had a team from Kenya who won our Imagine Cup, focus on using IoT, one of the emerging technologies I highlighted before, and applying it using AI to help prenatal and infant care monitoring, which is certainly helping address infant mortality rates and certainly keeping babies safe. This is a great tool with very simple IoT tools and AI that these students created, and they won the first prize at a Magic Cup, which was just recently celebrated in Build. I also wanted to highlight, to help enable student agency, a new offering Microsoft has just launched, which is integrated right into Microsoft Teams, called Career Coach. Career Coach brings resources from the institution, your curriculum, your courseware, as well as digital assets and your electronic library, into a collaborative space with Microsoft Teams, fueled by insight from LinkedIn. So we've taken the 700 million profiles in LinkedIn, taken data on how careers align, really the skills that took a CEO into their role, the credentials, the courses, the language used to describe their career, and distill that into learning pathways across career exploration that students can unlock inside of campus and institutions, where students can get insight on the courses they should select, the engagements that they should have, the skills that they need to build, even alumni and internship offerings and connections that they can make inside of the campus environment for students. This is helping institutions provide real career-ready experience and expertise to students in a very, very easy pathway. So I'm super excited about that and the work that's happening in this entire space. As I end, I just want to provide a reflection of the work that's happening across the board. There is tremendous opportunity to explore tools like Career Coach to really embrace digital transformation, but it also starts with leaders. It starts with a willingness to embrace the opportunity ahead, an urgency to really bring students' talent forward on a needing industry and society, and really shifting that mindset across the campus mission, faculty role, and certainly why students are learning and why they're enrolled in the first place. Thanks so much for the work that you're doing, and I'll pass it back to you, Andrew.
Wow, thank you, Anthony. I'm sure you will all agree that was an amazing and inspirational keynote. We really appreciate you taking the time with us this afternoon. We do have time for some questions. We've had a few that have come in. I would like to start with the following. What is Microsoft's vision for the certification programs?
So we've actually been investing in expanding the certification offerings. One of the things that we're trying to do is ensure that certification resonates more clearly. We've been seeing more and more demand for it from employers. One of the things that's happened for Microsoft is our cloud tools that really exploded globally across every industry. The rise of Azure, the use of Dynamics, even the use of Teams and Office 365 has created a demand for skills. So Microsoft and customers, large industry and government customers have demanded Microsoft's engagement in certification and support. We've been investing in Microsoft Learn to help with learning pathways, as well as expanding our certification offerings across the disciplines for customers to help get students on a pathway, because our employers are demanding it. Customers are making decisions to go with Azure or go with Dynamics and saying, we need the talent. It's too hard to identify them in the marketplace. And we need to both reskill and basically create students that leave institutions job ready with these skills. So it's an area that we're focused on. We're also doing more work cross industry. So we've been identifying industry partners and initiatives to work directly with institutions, both supporting certification, but also bringing job-ready experiences and projects and challenges into things like hackathons or joint projects. For example, we're working with many of the automotive manufacturers around the world who have been focused on autonomous vehicles and driving in an initiative called the Indy Autonomous Challenge, which has 30 university teams building AI-powered Indianapolis Formula One cars that will race on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in a high-speed, completely autonomous race in October. And we've been coaching these teams, giving these teams engagement, and making sure that all the students are certified on Azure along the way. And these are the kinds of things that I think we're going to be continuing to do.
Perfect, thank you, Anthony. There's another question which has come in here, which is related to the Career Coach. And somebody's asked, is Career Coach suitable for 16 to 18-year-olds or designed for FE and HE, further and higher education?
It's a great question, and certainly the initial launch of Career Coach was designed for higher education, and that's where it's landed currently. We have age 16 requirements for LinkedIn, and that slowed our ability to roll it out to high schools because we know high schools are going to want it available for all the students in high school, and that age range creates complexity. But we're working to expand the offering down to high school and provide either an onboarding pathway that's lighter, and then when students get age 16 and they are looking to apply to college, et cetera, they could start using Career Coach for career ideation. So it's work that's happening. We literally just launched Career Coach about a month ago. And so we're working through that first adoption, learning about higher education as we go. But we certainly see a demand and need for high school and frankly middle school, and we're working on how we can do that and make that happen. So it's definitely in the pathway going forward, so stay tuned.
Perfect. And one last question I have here, we're kind of flipping the focus here to assessment, Anthony, if you may. And the question here is, how do you think AI is going to enhance assessment? Assessment's obviously been, I suppose, one of the areas within education that has probably been the trickiest to kind of flip through the pandemic. But how potentially do you see AI enhancing or further benefiting assessment?
Yeah, I saw you highlight the future of assessment, Andrew, session. It's one that I want to probably put on my calendar because it's a huge opportunity in space. I think it starts with what we're teaching and what we're testing, right? So the future of assessment starts actually on the test. Like, what is we valuing in this new landscape? That's got to change and evolve. I think that we've been seeing AI being used for assessment, primarily for computer vision AI to keep track of students, making sure that we have visual cues and representations to make sure that there's no cheating, et cetera. Increasingly, I think that the opportunity to be more dynamic with what we're testing and what we're valuing is important. Increasingly, testing will be done online and remotely. That's just going to be something that will free. There will be far more unbundled education experiences than traditional education experiences that are bound and sort of curated. And certainly as you think about the life of learning for students, it's going to include certification and testing in many, many new forms that will require different online digital assessments. So we're going to need to use AI more naturally to both ensure students are who they say they are, and also we can facilitate safe and trusted assessment experiences that can be done in any environment, not just dedicated online testing centers that are proctored and managed. Those are probably the early chance that's going to happen, but I think there's an area that's focused on it. Microsoft has been focused on a number of things, both using natural language query to help essay examinations speed up more quickly. This has been an area that we've been doing a lot of work. We're also using AI to understand assessments in different ways. An example that may not be directly appropriate for this audience, but understanding how we're building these as building blocks. We just launched something called Reading Progress. This enables teachers who are teaching elementary students to assign a project on a reading passage to students. Students will then read the passage aloud, and Reading Progress will monitor the student's speech, their cadence, and their pronunciation, and give direct feedback on their reading progress to teachers, to students, and parents, and then managing that over time with data and analytics. This is a type of foundation that we can do across a wider variety of disciplines. So Microsoft is building sort of these coaches. We have a presenter coach in PowerPoint that uses AI to help people present more effectively. We have a reading coach to help students learn to read. We have a career coach to help students get a perspective on careers. We have a writing coach that's enabling AI in Word to help students understand Word. These are now coaches, but these same building blocks will eventually emerge into more traditional and formal assessments as we evolve with AI. So the early stages, we're comfortable calling them coaches because they give guidance and recommendations. But as the AI matures and we, deepen this work, I think you'll start to see these tools being used much more clearly in assessment.
Fantastic. Thank you, Anthony. I see that we're at the end of your time with us. So
thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity and certainly look forward to continued work and partnership, Andrew.
Oh, thank you, Anthony. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully we can welcome you back next year for your 3-year badge with us. So look, thank you again. Thanks ever so much.
Pleasure.
Thanks. Now to our next speaker. I've personally known Alex Warner for a number of years and have watched as he has very successfully risen up to become the principal of the South Central Institute of Technology. I'm delighted to now pass over the microphone to Alex to talk to us about how, as an innovative organisation, the IoT are embedding AI, cloud and data, teaching and certification to their curriculum. Alex, over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Andrew. Delighted to be here, and what amazing opportunity to follow Anthony, having heard how he spoke so passionately about how digital transformation is affecting all aspects of our lives, and most importantly today for education. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about the journey of the Institute of Technology. So just to take you on a bit of a background and context. If you could skip a slide, please. Institutes of Technology, they were announced in the 2017 Industrial Strategy. They are to be regionally based, so you can see them throughout England. Number 7 is the South Central Institute of Technology. They're regionally based, responding to the labour market intelligence and responding to sort of the skills demands within the areas. Now, we are a digitally focused institution of technology, and appreciate that that's not regionally based. Digital transcends all sectors. However, you can see, for example, in this photo, number 6 represents Northeast IoT, specifically working on advanced manufacturing and working with Nissan. But the core about Institutes of Technology is that they reimagine education and bring to life education experiences that are supported by further and higher education colleges, but also developed in collaboration with industry partners. Next slide, please. So some headlines then for the South Central Institute of Technology. Our headline sponsors are Microsoft, KPMG, McAfee, and Evidence Talks. A higher education partner is Cranfield University. And you can see on the right hand side a wider range of partners who are supporting the overall design, development and delivery of the Institute of Technology. We have 3 campus locations. The flagship is in Bletchley, specifically the home of code breaking, the home of computational thinking, so it's amazing to be delivering from there. We have other sites in each of Oxford and Reading. So what's the greatest challenge facing the technology sector then? And this is how we use that question to really shape our purpose and our values. So our purpose is to inspire digital futures. We know that young people, for example, are being put off around that between that transition to Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4. We know that there's a requirement to help people retrain and reskill in digital prospects. So what we want to do, and the purpose of the organisation, is to inspire digital futures. And our values are to include, to innovate, to connect and to challenge. And I'm just going to shine a torch on inclusion, because I spoke about the challenges facing the technology sector and a lack of diversity within the sector, and the injustices that exist with regards to gender equality, looking at representation of Black, Asian, minority ethnic groups and other challenges that the sector face. We're able to help overcome them through the design of a new way of delivering education experiences. So just some headline figures then, and to skip on. We are in receipt of 24 million's worth of investment, so we get a lot of infrastructure investment for that. We're delivering the Institute of Technology in collaboration with over 80 partners, and have ambitions to grow to 1,500 learners. However, as I've already said, we don't need to be restricted by those geographical locations, because digital transcends geographies as well. And if we were to skip forward to look at the South Central Institute of Technology, so we focus on higher technical education, specifically that level 4 and level 5, and we have 4 product offers. So students can study with us full-time, part-time, on a higher apprenticeship basis, or have people retraining and reskilling, undertaking what we call those CPD qualifications, and what I'll talk about shortly. We have 5 initial pathways in software, programming, big data and analytics, civics, networking, and we have a games, animation and creative. And you can see some of those diversity metrics that we hope to achieve. Essentially, we want to represent the community that we serve, and these are the demographics of the wider Thames Valley region and across those locations. And I'm going to talk to you now a little bit about our aim and how we're going to bring about that. So aim is to plug the digital skills gap. Research suggests that industry finds it challenging when recruiting sort of traditional university graduates. We want to understand the business needs and make sure that we develop an industry-like experience to be able to support students with that transition into their career, and then also create that unrivaled and diverse talent. So how do you do that then? What I describe it as is reverse engineering the learning process. So if I was to say this sort of the top line is kind of traditional learning, you focus on the sort of the qualification that you're trying to deliver. You have kind of teacher-led experiences, development of knowledge. You might have some industry input, which would lead to your kind of certification and graduation. And what we've actually done is we tried to reverse that, and we started with the employers who focus on building knowledge, hands-on practical skills, for example, problem solving. And by process of having all those things in place, it would lead to qualification, a portfolio of experiences, and transition into the world of work. And then what that looks like, just for the benefit of everyone, I won't necessarily talk through the next slide, but these are the kind of underpinning principles of how we have designed our curriculum experiences. And you can see if it was a continuum with kind of traditional being on the left and progressive being on the right. We're trying to deliver a really progressive curriculum that focuses on broad knowledge, skills and behaviours as well. So if we move on, we'll have a quick look at the qualification itself then. So we have 8 pathways in total. I said we're launching with 5. The additional 3 are AI and intelligence systems, web content management, and business analytics and change management. So we've mapped this qualification to a high technical qualification approvals process that the Institute for Apprenticeships are developing. But essentially, what we've tried to do is create those sort of multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary skills and behaviours, because we know that these qualifications have knowledge that sort of transcends each of those sectors. And just to show you what the curriculum then looks like, is you can see how we have that commercial, the commercial development, the technical, and then those kind of like that personalised pathway. And without going into kind of the minutiae of the curriculum design, you can see how each of these individual, these modules and projects that students study, we've then mapped those to, as Anthony just referenced, those fundamentals certifications. So, for example, if students were studying the big data and visualization, they could do the DP 900 fundamentals exam. Similarly, for someone doing cybersecurity, and just because it's just been launched, they could do the cybersecurity, I think it's the SC 900. Similarly, those students who are doing networking, they could do the Azure fundamentals. So we've built a qualification, and just a plug for Andrew's session at the end of the month, which has got the examinations embedded within, or the certification, sorry, embedded within the qualification and the modules and the projects that students study. And if we were to skip on, you could see how that then also leads to the rest of the development as well. So just as a little bit of a timeline from the Institute of Technology, and take you where on the journey that we've been on. So we had Institutes of Technology, the Wave 1, so 12 Institutes of Technology were announced in April 2019. We have our anchor partner strategy group. So these are the employer partners who are involved in all aspects of design, development and delivery. And just to make reference to those partners who do the hands-on lift, sort of the heavy lifting of sort of, again, coaching and facilitating learning. So bringing those real world experiences into the curriculum. moving on then to where we are today. So I said that in March this year we launched our High National Digital Technologies qualification. We open our doors to a new campus location in Reading, which is currently going through a refit now. Oxford will open up in September 22, and the visual that you can see around me is our current location in Bletchley, but the new campus will launch in April of 2023. So we refer to this as sort of our beta or our soft launch as well. So that's a real breakneck speed tour of the Institute of Technology. I said to Andrew before this session, I've probably got about 3 hours worth of content that I want to try and walk and talk through. However, that will give you a quick understanding of how we have gone from sort of the policy requirements of developing an Institute of Technology and how we make that a reality with both the learning experiences and the curriculum design that we've done, embedding qualifications and vendor qualifications within that, and really focusing on developing sort of career ready graduates. And I think that's one of the things that we've made sure that we've understood from employers is about developing knowledge, skills and behaviours, so that transition from education in the workplace is seamless.
Another amazing presentation. Thank you, Alex. We really appreciate you taking the time with us this afternoon. We're coming up towards the end of our time, but we probably have just enough time for one question. So I would like to ask you, how are certifications going to make a difference for your students?
So I'll probably go back to that sort of that career readiness. So these are vendor qualifications that we're talking about. This gives students, talking about that portfolio of experiences, the badges go on to their LinkedIn profiles. We know that their recruiters will be looking at their digital portfolio and their CV. And for me, that's about how they build their connections and that readiness for the first interview, the first meet that they have with employers, and the ongoing development of their skills.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Alex. Again, really, really appreciate you taking the time to be with us this afternoon. Before we close our session, a reminder to visit www.certmatters.com and sign up to our other wonderful sessions. If you would like to recap on today's session or any of our other sessions, they will be available on demand on the Cert Matters website. Before we do go, I would like to give thanks to our sponsors, partners, and all the organisations who have taken the time to support our Cert Matters series. You'll be able to hear from each of them in our future sessions. And do get in touch if you would like to discuss anything that you have heard about and seen today. We would be delighted to discuss any of these aspects further. You can contact us via Twitter, on our website, certmatters.com or prodigylearning.com, or via email to our info@prodigylearning.com email address. And finally, a huge thank you to our speakers again, Anthony Salcito and Alex Warner. Thank you to all of the Prodigy team in the background who have helped to produce and present this event today. And of course, thank you to all of you who have joined us this afternoon. I hope you found this session as inspirational as I did. We appreciate you taking the time out to hear from our guests and to attend Cert Matters Live 2021. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your afternoons.